Yep, it's the end of August is coming to a close, and by next week it'll already be September. And sufficient to say, I kind of am gonna be planning on taking a break from reactions because September's where stuff really has. I have a lot of stuff I need to do. I try to help my mom out a lot, but also recently I find it refreshing not having to like record stuff and just check my micro. Okay, my audio is on because I recorded two videos. I had to delete them because I forgot to put on the damn audio. I live in a very loud house. What am I gonna say? But I do know there's a few videos I plan on reacting to. I have these two on my watch later playlist. One of them of which I'll only be reacting to today. But I do know I'm probably waiting for like a Memer Man video, any new Memer Man video. If that does come out, maybe if it comes out next month, maybe I will react to it. I don't know. I'll probably also do if the trailer for No Way Home comes out because I mean Shang-Chi has already opened with a 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. I have to see the film myself because last time Disney tried appealing to China, it sucked. Ow. Sorry. My abdomen. It's gas. Let me just see if I can mute you for a second. I didn't hear it. Oh god. Oh god. Yeah. I had to just mute the microphone. You had to see me do my own business here. Could have just paused, but no, it's forever going to be on camera. Muted. um, yeah, we've already had the final trailer for Eternals as well, and so I'm thinking there's only a No Way Home trailer if it does eventually come out at the end of this month. And I do know I think there's going to be the first trailer for Red Notice, a new movie starring The Rock, which I'm personally excited for. But after a long time, James A. Janice has finally decided to tackle the Fear Street trilogy, or at least just part one of the trilogy. And these Fear Street movies, I will say, were pretty good. They're probably some of my favorite horror movies of the year. Probably the best one in my opinion, because it's that weird trilogy that one of those rare trilogies that, in my opinion, just gets better with each installment, and it all comes out a week apart from each other. That's rare for me, in my opinion. Part one, I really enjoyed that tribute to movies like the return of the slasher genre, like Scream was kind of the return of the slasher genre. Part two, 1978, I thought was just as good, if not better, because it reminded me a lot of early John Carpenter, like the early John Carpenter I prefer, like so, uh, Precinct 13, Halloween, The Fog, The Thing, those kinds of movies. Oh yeah, Escape from New York. Although Escape from New York is more dystopian, like Precinct 13. But John Carpenter is very versatile when it comes to his films. And I also really enjoyed 1666 Part 3. Um, all in all, I really love these movies. Whenever someone if I ever talk to someone, I'll say you should check out the Fear Street movies because they're actually pretty good horror movies. And I personally am not a horror fan, but these movies surprised me with how good they were. And from what I understand, the director of all three movies, Lee Janiak. Damn, Doug's. I live in a neighborhood that's very mobile. I live in a very fast neighborhood, is what I should probably say. I don't know what the expression is. I heard she wants to kind of make a Marvel Cinematic Universe horror style, like with because the end of part three was kind of setting that up. Is like, oh, so someone's gonna curse the town again. I don't want to spoil. I've already spoiled much. At least I didn't spoil the twist. But we are gonna get. But this is a kill count video, and given James having to watch the whole film, having to look at the kill count and talking about stuff that is integral, there are spoilers in this. So my apologies if you have not seen the Fear Street movies. They're on Netflix. Go check them out now. But anywho, this is the only video I'm gonna do for today. React to it, you know, cut it, print it, upload immediately because I gotta wake up early tomorrow. Fear Street Part 1, 1994 kill count. And James finally did it because I remember James saying he was finally gonna do it, but he kept getting hit with a lot of copyright strikes. Frickin' Netflix, man. What is it? Studios will never accept fair use. They don't care what fair use means.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Goosebumps means Stranger Things.
I'm James Agent.
Hold on. Let me just mute the microphone here for a quick second. Alright, wait a long while. Well, looks like it's because it was my dinner time. So let's go back to the video. Got me an orange sliced into fours.
Denise, and today we're looking at Fear Street Part 1, 1994. As its title implies, this is the first part of the Fear Street film series based on the Fear Street book series written by R.L. Stine. Fear Street began in 1989 with The New Girl and eventually spawned over 50 novels and various spin-off series. Most people know Mr. Stine for Goosebumps, but I understand the Fear Street books were a bit more graphic, with teenage protagonists instead of Goosebumps preteens. Personally, I've never read a Fear Street, so I won't be able to comment on how the movies compare. I do
really don't read books before I see the movies. It really depends.
know the movies don't follow any specific Fear Street.
The thing is, I think the only books I do remember reading. Okay, there were two good examples of me reading a book before I ever saw the movie. Dune, obviously, which I finished in over a week because damn, it's a big book, like over 500 pages long, if I'm not mistaken. And the first book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, which I read both the book and the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to compare it, and it mostly follows the book. I will say it's one of the better book to film adaptations. The movie, like the book itself, is amazing, but the movie also manages to stand out on its own, and there are some legit funny moments in that one. I just really wish we got a sequel to that, but we'll never get it because the film didn't make its budget back. Um, but Dune, on the other hand, was an amazing book. The 1984 movie. I'm praying to God that the new one is good. The David Lynch movie was just not good because I feel like it took out a lot of important elements from the book, which pissed me off a lot.
Street book plots. Instead, the movies take the settings and some characters and tell their own stories, crafted by director and co-writer Lee Janiak, who had previously made the film Honeymoon and directed episodes of the Scream TV series.
And is also married to one of the Duffer brothers. I think it's Ross Duffer.
3 Fear Streets were filmed back-to-back, Lord of the Rings style, from March to September in Georgia in 2019. They were originally going to be released in theaters within a single year by Fox, but that plan fell apart after Fox was purchased by Disney. Eventually, Netflix acquired distribution rights and released them week after week in July of 2021. As is often the case with Netflix horror, I was inundated with requests to cover these bad boys. And I'll admit, I was skeptical at first. Netflix's other huge horror hits never did too much for me. I found Bird Box painfully mediocre, and I notoriously hate both babysitter films. While watching the first Fear Street, I liked
the first Babysitter movie, but I did not care for the second one. I thought the second one was not as good.
Initially felt the same trepidation. For the most part, 1994 didn't impress me, and I wondered why everyone was making such a big fuss over it. But then I realized I couldn't wait to watch Part 2, and when I finished that one, I was downright pumped for Part 3. The Fear Street films really grew on me, and the more time I spend with them, the more I appreciate them. Even if they're not doing anything revolutionary, they're a remarkably fun and easy watch. The trilogy follows high school students in Shadyside, a small Ohio town that seems to be cursed with bad luck, and I mean, mean more than just being in Ohio. Haha, go blue! Shadyside's troubles are egregious and murdery, setting it in stark contrast to its neighboring town, the wealthy Sunnyvale. Part 1 takes place in 1994 and is very much in the style of Scream, which came out in 96 and defined the horror genre for the late 90s. Parts 2 and 3 travel back in time to look at historical Shadyside tragedies, imitating other horror films in the process, but somehow always keeping things tied together to the central story. Though each film works as a successful standalone, with proper beginnings, middles, and ends, they're also a brilliantly executed cohesive trilogy with a surprisingly satisfying conclusion. I mean, this thing really sticks the landing. I even teared up during Part 3. Part 1 is my least favorite film of the trilogy, and the one that seems most derivative. Though it takes place over 25 years ago, it's still
Yeah. I will say that it is the weakest, but then again, it's like one of those trilogies where it's like the films just get better.
feels like something made in 2021, no matter how many 90s songs they stick on the soundtrack. And trust me, there are a lot. The needle drops are non-stop, and while I'm a huge fan of Nine Inch Nails and Pixies and Garbage, it's a bit distracting when the first act has a different song starting every few minutes. I have plenty of other complaints that I'll mention during the kill count, but it's worth noting that a lot of people love all three of these movies, and that I'm probably not the target demographic here. I'm in my 30s and tend to like things that are less mainstream. Fear Street has an undeniably pop sensibility targeted towards teens. I think it's great, though, that this kind of thing exists. It's a good bridge into more graphic horror, from things like Goosebumps and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Fear Street may feel like those other films at first, but these movies don't pull any punches. There's a whole lot of gore, a fair amount of sex, and you know what? They even kill some kids. Gotta respect a YA movie that doesn't baby things up too much. Since those gnarly kills are part of the reason so many of you wanted this episode, let's get to them.
Sorry. Oh, it's PlayStation. Don't worry, this will go by very fast. If it doesn't, I'd be surprised. Yeah, told ya.
The movie begins with Maya Hawke. We love Maya Hawke. She's so damn charming in Stranger Things 3. Hawke plays Heather Watkins, who works at a bookstore in the Shadyside Mall. It sells a lot of Fear Street-looking books written by fictional author Robert Lawrence, which is what the RL stands for in R.L. Stine. Heather's closing tonight, making her a closer, homonym to Closer, the Nine Inch Nails song playing on the soundtrack right now. It's the Fuck You Like an Animal song, but not the Bloodhound Gang one, that was 99. The only other people here are the janitor and the sex doll. Oh, and Ryan Torres, Heather's friend played by David Thompson. He was in the Kick-Ass Green Room and in Gotham as Scarecrow. Besides them, though, nobody else is here this late. What? Except maybe a disembodied voice or two. This opening segment is one big love letter to Scream. Heather gets a creepy phone call, just like Drew Barrymore's Casey Becker. The hooded skeletal killer who shows up is pretty reminiscent of Ghostface, and the similar sounding score comes courtesy of Scream's composer Marco Beltrami.
I love Marco Beltrami. Like, as a composer, like, he's done so many great things. Like, I think Scream was his first movie, but like, I don't know, but like after Scream, he was like very popular. Now he's been on working like he's worked with on like lots of films. He even worked on films for like James Mangold, which I mean that score for Logan is like hauntingly dark.
Beltrami, who wrote all of Fear Street's music alongside a different co-composer for each film. Skullmask chases Heather into a Hot Topic-esque store where he slashes her stomach beneath the black lights. She runs back out and passes the bodies of 3 random mall employees seen dead, though 2 of them are blink and you miss it in the background. The movie puts its Scream influence on its cloak sleeve as Skullmask catches up to Heather in a shot directly referencing when Ghostface got Casey. I actually love that, especially because Maya Hawke is similar to Drew Barrymore, a young actor we know and love who comes from a famous acting family. It makes her a surprising first victim, just like Casey was. And just like Casey pulled off Ghostface's mask before she died, Heather does the same to Skullmask, revealing her friend Ryan Torres. They go on the kill count together as Ryan is shot in the head by a sheriff, who arrives too late to save Heather from bleeding out to death on the floor. The opening credits show us the intramural conflict between Shadyside and Sunnyvale. Shadyside suffers from so many murders it's called Killer Capital USA, while the successful Sunnyvale citizens haven't seen a single crime in decades. Lots of cool images in these credits hint towards things that'll play out in the next two films, and perhaps in future Fear Streets as well. The idea to shoot 3 films at once and release them close together came from producer Peter Chernin of Chernin Entertainment. Director Lee Janiak took the idea and ran with it, deciding the movies should all be connected and take place in different eras. Janiak, who's married to Ross Duffer of Stranger Things, poured her heart and soul into making these movies, directing all 3 over the course of 108 days. I like that she didn't just lean on nostalgia when it came to each era. She actively differentiated them with specific looks and tones. For 1994, she and cinematographer Caleb Heyman used dolly tracks and tripods.
Also interesting, they shot all 3 movies with anamorphic lenses because lots of horror movies I think were shot. I do remember Carpenter was like a huge anamorphic lover. Like for the longest time, most of his films are anamorphic. So from like Precinct 13 to Ghosts of Mars. Ugh. But yeah, like Halloween was anamorphic, The Thing was anamorphic, Escape from New York anamorphic, and The Math of Madness was shot in anamorphic, and yeah. Also, yeah, Scream was also shot with anamorphic lenses by Mark Irwin, who shot The Fly. And I don't know why. I'm a bit of an anamorphic lover myself. I just love the image, like the nostalgic format. It's very nostalgic in many ways. Like I'm trying to see if I can find it here. Yeah. Okay, so it was shot digitally.
For 1994, she and cinematographer
Sorry, I can't find it.
for Caleb Heyman used.
So you might notice in the background, there's also some elliptical bokeh, the oval. Say it looks like this orange, for example. It's in the background. It's not really, but it looks like it. And of course, the horizontal lens flares made popular by J.J. Abrams, and also like the barrel distortion, which I love that they shot in this. It makes it feel more like a movie, because if you shot this spherical, it would look boring, in my opinion. That's just me, though.
Dolly tracks and tripods to emulate a traditional studio style, common to slashers of the late 90s. With the cold open over, it's time for a title card, and a whole bunch of 90s songs on the soundtrack. Pissed off grunster Dina, played by
Happy when it rains. I do know the end credits played White Zombies More Human Than Human.
Kiana Madeira, drafts a note to her ex Sam, as Garbage's Only Happy When It Rains plays anachronistically. Iron Maiden's Fear of the Dark takes over as Dina's brother Josh chats on AOL. 90s! The two of them head to school as Machine Head blares, giving us 3 songs in 3 minutes. And then, hold up, Sophie B. Hawkins comes in as Josh admires his sister's friend Kate?
Watch it, nerd.
Wait, what the fuck? Now Portishead? Come on, movie! We're only 13 minutes in and you've already got a full EP! Calm down, witches! Dina's still reeling from a recent breakup, but her friends Kate and Simon know how to cheer her up. Make jokes about their classmate who just got stabbed to death.
The dude was wearing a...
No, I'd say, weren't they also dealing pot, if I'm not mistaken?
Halloween skull mask. How is that not fun?
Because someone died. I know lots of people love Kate and Simon, and I know Simon's pretty much just Stu Mocker from Scream, but it's hard for me to root for callous douchebags and stuck-up drug pushers.
Hey, I liked Kate and Simon personally, but this is James. James is allowed to have his own opinion. I would say Simon is sort of like Stu, but unlike Stu, he's not as evil as Stu is. He's not as like jerk. He's not a big jerk as Stu is. Where Stu is also like helping out. I remember seeing a video mentioning that in Scream 2 you could see Matt Lillard in the background as a zombie Stu. And I think that's because he and Nev Campbell were dating at the time. I lost track.
years.
Off to claim my place among the stars, bitch.
Maybe it's a school-wide case of assholery, though, since they've got people like this dude who's doing another reference to Scream. But in Woodsboro, the punks just ran around dressed up like Ghostface. This Shadyside goof's dragging around an effigy of Maya Hawke's dead body. Yeah! No! Many people in Shadyside blame the shopping mall murders on a witch's curse. Sarah Fear, who cut off her hand while making a deal with the devil. Josh even maintains a whole conspiracy wall linking all of Shadyside's tragedies to the one-handed witch. Then again, witches are Shadyside High's mascot, so I mean, they're kind of inviting it. A Cypress...
Oh, a Candyman ad. I'll wait. Don't worry, YouTube. I'll wait. I'll play your little game. Alright.
Cypress Hill song bleeds into Creep by Radiohead as the soundtrack continues its hit clip's approach to the 90s. A bus of Shadyside football and band students drive through their dying town and into Sunnyvale, which looks a lot more like the right side of the tracks. I like the small detail of Sunnyvale jerseys having their names while Shadyside's don't. Good way to show the schools having very different budgets. Dina's here to get closure with her ex Sam, who recently moved to Sunnyvale and is already dating again. In what's played as a tiny twist, Sam ends up being the gal Dina was looking at. This is a lesbian love story, which is great. You don't often get that as the main romance in a movie, and I always like to see things that are new. Janiak and her writing partner Phil Graziadei, who is gay, wanted characters who weren't traditionally the leads in slashers.
How do we make it more representative of what the world was actually like back then? Just wasn't kind of able to be represented in film.
This is reflected in the differing demographics.
Really much gay couples in horror films, because that was kind of a no-no. I'm not a big fan of. I'm not. Well, your thing. I just don't really care. But if you like the characters, then why should I give a shit if they're gay?
Between Shadyside and Sunnyvale, though I think the movie wisely doesn't make that a focal point. It's more of a case of casual representation, letting its story and characters stand on their own. The broader message is kept mostly to subtext, like with the Curse of Shadyside, which represents generational trauma and how history can hold people back. At the same time, Fear Street doesn't shy away from reality, and shows how difficult it was to be queer in the 90s. That's why Dina's mad that Sam, played by Olivia Scott Welch, moved away and is dating a guy now. This Sunnyvale jock, Peter the butt cheek needer. Dina feels abandoned and says Sam is lying about who she is, while Sam says Dina's too negative and nihilistic. Dina thinks Shadysiders will always fail, as opposed to Sunnyvalers like the mayor Matthew Good. The mayor's brother is Sheriff Nick Good, the sharpshooting skull slayer from the shopping mall. By the way, I know Sheriff Good says on TV there were 7 victims in the mall massacre, but the ones I didn't see ain't going on the count. During a memorial, Peter's a dick about his neighbor's plight, causing a big ol' fight to break out that sends the Shadysiders bussing back home. They're still riled up about it, as are the Sunnyvalers, which is why Peter's sneaking up with Sam and his bros to start some shit. Inexplicably, the bus driver keeps on driving like nothing is wrong, even when the Sunnyvalers toss glass bottles at him. And even when Dina opens the freaking back door? Are you kidding? Yo, driver, do you see what's going on here? Stop the freaking bus! Stop the bus! Yeah, what she said! Sam's hurt in the crash and crawls out of the car with her nose bleeding. When her blood touches the ground, she sees a trippy flash of images, until Dina breaks her out of it and—
Hold on. I want to see the images, because I know they were setting it up. So, I'm gonna mute. Gotta slow down the frame rate. I'll leave the captions on. I'm lazy. Alright. Let's see what we see. Alright, we see the witch, and then... Okay, so we... Sorry. I'm going back. Sorry, I pressed the pause button too much. Hold on a second. Let me just pause the video here for a second. I gotta restart the... I'm sorry about... This happens a lot. With, Just pause. Alright, it stopped. Sorry, had technical difficulties.
Sam's hurt in the crash and crawls out of the car with her nose bleeding. When her blood touches the ground, she sees a trippy flash of images, until Dina breaks her out of it and apologizes for the whole, throwing a cooler at their windshield thing. Sam spits up blood and is carted away like a Friday the 13th final girl, and when the other kids are questioned, they all stonewall Sheriff Good, leaving the matter as one between them.
They were all fucking dead.
When Skullmask shows up outside her home the next night, Dina assumes it's Peter acting on his promised revenge. She calls Kate, who's babysitting kids at a house so close they can see each other, very much like Laurie Strode and her friend Annie in the original Halloween. Only Annie didn't have Lindsay Wallace sorting drugs for her to sell.
Do not eat these. These will make your little heart stop, and you'll choke to death on your own vomit, and everyone will be so super sad.
Simon's there with Kate for some reason. I don't think they're dating or anything. And they find Skullmask in the living room, hunched over laundry. After he disappears in a weirdly abrupt way, they note that he was sniffing on Simon's bloody shirt. They tell Dina, and thinking that it's Peter, they decide to go see Sam at the hospital. They get into her room with the help of one of Kate's customers, a nurse named Betty. Bam-a-lam. As Betty takes Dina to Sam, Josh gets Kate to notice him by hacking the vending machine. Hell yeah, man. Ladies be loving them crunch bars. Ladies don't be loving when they get driven off the road, though. So Sam's still mad at Dina. They have a back-and-forth yell-fest that is painful and personal.
So don't blame me when you wake up in 10 years just like your dad, old and drunk and going nowhere.
That's interesting. We never really meet Dina or Josh's dad. Ever. And I like that we don't. It is interesting to see who is this guy, but we get probably the idea that, her dad's probably a deadbeat.
Whew! Can we break this tension, please? Oh, a kill? Perfect! Thanks, Peter. That was a big help, man. Skullmask is here, and he chases after Dina and Sam, pursuing them so single-mindedly he runs right past their friends. Know who Skullmask didn't run right past, though? The receptionist Stephanie, who they find with her throat slit, nor Nurse Betty, who Skullmask walks up to and stabs in the neck. Ah, damn! Skullmask chases the girls again until Dina throws him down and learns his identity. It's Ryan Torres, the mall killer, complete with the bullet in his brain. The skull mask was designed by Fear Street's makeup artist Christopher Nelson, who we've actually seen on the kill count before as a cop in Halloween 2018, where he also did the makeup effects, including his own death scene. For Skull Mask, Nelson wanted something simple you could buy in a store, just like Mikey My-Mai's in Halloween. Dina's friends have a stolen ambulance waiting for them, so they get out of there and head towards the police station. There, Sheriff Good has mall janitor Martin locked up, with the charge of spray painting the mall where he works, cleaning the place up. Wait, that don't make sense.
Sheriff Good? More like Sheriff motherfucking Evil.
Dina tells Sheriff Good that Ryan Torres was just chasing them, but he doesn't believe her, cause, bullet in the brain.
Would you say he was more, Dawn of the Dead or Night of the Living?
Wait.
Dead.
Well, he wasn't blue, so night. He leaves to do cop stuff, and in his absence, Dina subtly steals a gun from police officer Kopinski. Come on, Kopinski, that's like the 4th time this week. During this, Simon comes across a sexy singing
Ruby Lane. Yeah. Every time that song comes on, if I ever hear You Always Hurt the Ones You Love, I'll be like, oh shit, I'm out of here. I ain't dying to a crazy chick. I really do need a girlfriend just so she can tolerate with me.
chick. She ends up being a scary sexist singing chick who attacks Simon and starts freaking slashing him right in the middle of the road. That is, until she's shot a whole bunch by Dino with that cop's gun. Risky shots there, Dina, especially with the lack of payoff, because this little lady didn't even let that interrupt her ditty. The kids regroup at Dina's house. Simon mentions the singing girl's straight razor, and Josh realizes who it was.
This is Ruby Lane.
He says Ruby Lane slit her friend's throat with a straight razor in 1965. Ruby was just one of Shady Side's many headlines of death. In 1978, a baghead Jason-looking killer murdered kids at a summer camp called Nightwing. In 1950, a milkman named Harry Rooker did a couple of murders, including one seen here. Josh's history lesson goes on to give us 2 more flashback kills for the count. Someone beaten with a bat by Billy Barker in 22, and a girl being drowned by a grifter in 1904. All of these killers were seemingly normal people until suddenly snapping and slaying. The first was way back in
Just the video so down, yeah.
1666, when Pastor Cyrus Miller killed kids and cut out their eyeballs. Josh believes all these killers were bewitched by Sarah Fear, who was executed in 1666, the same year the kills began.
By cutting off her cursed hand, she kept
her grip upon our land.
Kate
I can still wait, you two. I'm gonna fight you till the day I die. I'm kidding. Oh, thank God.
points out the witch's curse doesn't explain why dead killers are coming back to chase them. Sam says that aspect might be tied to those mental flashes she had when she bled on the ground after the car crash.
I saw the witch.
They head back to the spot where it happened, and beneath some red moss, discover bones and chains. Wait, what? Those were right there on the ground this whole time? You're telling me these are Seraphir's shackles and skeleton, and shit's just been lying on the side of the road for 300 years? They try reburying the bones to put Seraphir's spirit to rest, but it doesn't work, especially not with Sam bleeding all over the bones again, which causes another round of hallucinations and whispers. Baghead Jason starts busting ass towards them, making a beeline for Sam and nearly taking her head off. Dina saves her, though, and everyone's able to escape the Camp Nightwing killer, for now. They realize the killers are only going after Sam. That's why Nightwing ignored Josh a minute ago. The only reason the killers went after Dina and Simon is because they had Sam's blood on their clothes.
It's Jaws, dude. A shark smelling blood.
Wait, then why did Skullmask kill the receptionist and Nurse Betty? Come on, movie, make the rules clear. You're stressing out Sheriff Good. The kids go to the high school to enact a plan, but first they've got to get completely clean of Sam's blood. This leads
Time for a little bang, 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 bang instead of bang, bang, bangity bang. I'm sorry, I remembered seeing that in How I Met Your Mother. At least to triple or two and a half.
to a triple, or 2.5, I guess, love scene, while the cowboy
Yeah, I did notice. I kind of wasn't paying attention until it was like, you guys all went to Pound Town? So did I. And I was like, oh, wait, so he was doing himself in the bathroom. Legit himself.
Junkies' cover of Sweet Jane plays on the soundtrack. With Dina and Sam, I get it. High school exes always be getting back together. But Josh and Kate is more off-putting to me, even though they've shared some nice moments throughout the film. It's just that Josh was introduced in a very annoying little brother kind of way. And as an annoying little brother myself, it's weird to me that he's getting with his sister's friend. I guess we can assume they're more like peers, since actor Benjamin Flores Jr. is only a year younger than Julia Raywald. In any case, I hate the part where Simon masturbates in the mirror. I'm sorry, but no human would do that in this situation. It's
That is so goddamn. You could have at least cut that scene out, I would say, because I was not paying too much attention to that. Because, hey, we had Kate in her bra. I'm sorry, I'm a man of. Wait.